Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Long Pamay, and in this new series, I'll be showing you how to connect and work with databases using .NET. We'll take a look at all the major .NET framework data providers like Oledb, ODBC, and also SharePoint Client to work with Access Database, SQL Server, and SharePoint. .NET Framework Data Providers is used for connecting to databases, execute commands, and retrieve results. These results are either processed directly or placed in a dataset in order to be exposed to users as needed, or can be combined with data from multiple sources or remoted between tiers. By the end of this series, you'll come to know how to connect, read, write, update, delete, and or basically manipulate data using .NET. This will be covered in both C# .NET and Visual Basic .NET, so you'll have a sample of both. Before we begin, if you haven't, please do not forget to subscribe to support my channel and also hit the bell icon to be notified when new videos are uploaded. For the sake of our viewers transitioning from VBA to .NET Framework, we'll again keep it very simple and detailed so even beginners can follow this series. Um, I'll demonstrate this using the STO project, so we can add buttons to trigger the code or in case we need to print out the data to Excel. Irrespective of the project you choose, the code will remain the same, so feel free to choose other projects, maybe WinForm or console project, which you're comfortable with. In this episode, we'll go ahead and create our project, a simple Access database. We'll create some tables and also load some data manually so that we can work with those data. Okay, I'm gonna create a new project, Control-Shift-N. I'm gonna go for VSTO Excel workbook, but you can choose any other project type. Let's call this working with DB. And you can choose a framework. Like I'm gonna choose the latest, and we'll use a new workbook instead of using existing workbook, because we have done in the past with existing workbook. Let's try this out. I'm gonna just fire this up just to see if the project was created successfully. Okay, everything is good. Now let's go ahead and create our sample database. From Windows, I'm gonna write access and bring this up, application. We'll choose the blank database. If like in the future, if you have to create the prior formats, you can go and get it from here by clicking on this button. We're gonna go with 2007 to 2016, okay? And I'm gonna save this here. Let's call this sample DB. If you want to encrypt the database, I'll cover that in a separate video. So by default, this table will be added like this. Okay, you can just close it. In order to create a new table, you go and click on Create Table and click on Design Mode. Here, let's call this First Table. Just line up for now. And here this is where you put in the field names and the data type. Okay, so by default, this one here is insert ID with auto number. If you want, you can keep it, or you can also give it another name. Let's say like prime key or something like that. And then change the data type as well if you want, or you can leave it as it is, or you can just delete it by just pressing delete key or delete row here. Okay, so let's say that we want to have a field called first name, last name. You can choose the type of data. So within the like the sort text as well, there will be more like constraints that you can put in the text, the limitation to the number of characters, and so on. Okay, not gonna go too deep into this. So basically, this is how you're gonna go ahead and choose. Like for example, let's say this is amount. You can go ahead and choose a number, and then from here you can choose if you want it to be double, decimal, integer, long, integer, and so on. Okay, so that's how you'll create your table like this. Yeah, or the easiest way, if you already have the data somewhere, for example, here I have a table called client. Before I demonstrate that, If you already have a data set like this, you can directly use it to create a table. Access will automatically figure the data type, and further you can change it. So let's say I already have a table like this. Let's say this is amount and this is called onboarding date or something like that. And I'm gonna put some, oh sorry, I'm gonna put some double number with decimals. And here I'm gonna put a date like this, okay? So let's say you already have a data like this and you want to create a table. You don't have to go and create each field one by one if you have a lot of fields. So I'm just gonna, uh, you know, like add a field called ID, which we can delete again. Now copy this area and go and create a new table like this and paste it like this by selecting this area, okay? Hold on. ID and 1, 2, 3. Let's see. Then Access should automatically read the data. Yeah, like this. So click on yes, and then I'm just gonna cancel this one. If you go to design view, I'll just leave this as default table 2. You can see here it automatically pick up the double data type and the date and time data type here, and all these are text. Okay, so this is how you can easily, replicate the table from your Excel. Now I'm gonna delete these two. That was just a demonstration. We can also create a table programmatically. We'll cover that in the next episode. So let's go ahead and create a sample table called line with all this data set. Okay. So I've copied this entire area and I'm gonna create a new table. I'm gonna select this area and Control V. Okay, so it's pasted 500 records. And now we'll go to design mode. I'm gonna call this as clients. We don't need this. This was just a placeholder so that we can paste it to this table. And this customer ID is going to be the primary key. Primary key means it will not have a duplicate. It cannot contain a duplicate. Here you can also limit the size. You can index them, make it required, and so on. Okay. So we'll talk more about this. This postcode was automatically identified as a number, but we'll have that also as text. Everything has text here, okay? All right, so that is how we can create a table manually and upload data. In the next episode, I'm gonna talk about how to programmatically create a table as well as upload the data, bulk data from CSV file, for example. In this episode, we'll learn how to set up a data connection to our Access database that we just created using OLEDB connection. Okay, for that, I'm gonna go ahead and add a module, and I'm just gonna call this Access DB. Okay, so here is our module. First, let's import system data and then OLEDB. Okay, that will be, and then let's also do this import system diagnostic. This will be so that we can print it and see our data there in the output, and then later on we might also need to read from CSV, so let's do this. Okay, that will be it for now. Let's set up a public variable which will hold our OLEDB connection. Let's call this db on as a variable name, and then OLEDB connection, and then our path. Shift right click, copy as path, and let's call this I'll just paste this. So that will be our database path. Now let's create a public function so that we can reuse this connection from any of the sub procedures that we'll be writing. Let's call this open connection. I think that should be it. And this will return as boolean. Open connection. Sorry, my bad. Okay, now let's try to connect to database and using try exception. So here we'll say db connection dot connection string is equal to, for those of you who have watched the prior, like other database, SQL, ADO, like all this series, you must be already familiar with all this. If not, you can go and grab the connection string from this website. It has all the like drivers and connection strings, so it's a very useful website. For now, I'm just gonna get this. Otherwise, you can also like we'll talk more at a later stage how to connect. Like if there's a password and all this. Okay. So I just copied this part, and I'm gonna come back here. Our connection string will be this. Okay, and of course the path will be okay. So that's our path. And then now we're gonna db connection dot open. Now, if this part fails, then it's gonna come down here. If this part goes through, then we want to return. Oh, sorry. Return true. Else, if it goes down here, that's where the error happened, and then we want to return false. Okay, and we can quickly test this out. Subtest. So we can say if this, oops, if connection is true, then we'll say message box connected. And if it is connected, we want to disconnect this. We'll close the connection. Else, we'll say fail to connect. Now let's add a quick ribbon to this project. Let's add a ribbon designer. Let's just call this ribbon one. So we can add button to call this. Otherwise, we can also directly add it to the worksheet. If you want to add a button here, you can just go to the toolbar and then drag and drop the button. Okay, for example, like this. It takes time to repaint, and you can double click here, and then you can add the code. Oh, yeah. So I think for now, let's go with this. I'm gonna fire this up in debug mode. So it says fail to connect. Now is a good time to debug. Close this and end it. Let's see what is wrong. Now what we can do is just disable this try catch for now. And let's try and run this again just to see the error, okay? Or we can put a message box here without disabling it. That's not bad. Okay, so it says cannot use this file is already in use. Okay, so the first time when we create a database, it's like in exclusive mode. So we'll just close this, okay, and we can reopen it so that the mode is not in exclusive mode, allowing others to also connect to the same database at the same time. Okay, now let's go ahead and try again. Just gonna bring back. This is connected. Okay, so we are now we have successfully set up our connection to the database. In the next episode, we will start running our commands and using more other functions and methods. In this episode, we'll write a small program to create table. Okay, so going back to our, let's call this table. And we'll create table SQL command. Let's call this variable as create SQL as string. Maybe we can put this at the top so that we can reuse this. And then we'll say SQL is equal to, and here, so create table. Okay, so this is the syntax, and then the name of the table. Let's say we want to create a table called context. Okay, and then within this, let's say that we want to have a field called person ID. Okay, and then after the name of the field, you can specify the data type. So let's say that the ID will be integer, and then we'll have first name, last name. So let's say first name, and then this can be varchar. That will be text. Okay, and then I'll show more, like data types that you can refer to. And then here within the brackets, you can specify number of characters that like the limit that you can put to it. Okay, like this one. Okay. And then let's say first name, and then comma will be last name, and then let's say we want to have address as well. Maybe city, and let's leave it at that for now. Okay, so this will be our SQL command. And now using the connection, we will start to execute this command. We'll just reuse this. Say, so basically when we run this command, if connection is open, it will open the connection. Okay, so if connection is open, then we'll say dim command as new Oledb command, and then from here we'll specify our SQL, and then this will be our connection string. Okay, so we'll say sorry, this will be our connection db connection. Okay, and then we will execute this command. If you're reading the data, we'll use the reader, otherwise we'll execute non-query. And then after we execute this, we'll close out the connection. Okay, so similarly we can execute other different type of update, delete, and all this. I'll cover all those examples, and then post this we can say message bugs maybe completed. So let's try and run this. Earlier we created a ribbon, but we didn't add anything, so maybe we can add the ribbon tab. F4, I'll just put the name as DB tools or something like that. Oh, sorry. Is the caption? I'll label, okay. DB tools. And then from tools, we'll first grab and bring in the groups. Where is group? Okay, and then let's put a button. We'll call the create table from here. Let's call this label as create table. Okay, by the way, this ribbon part is not important. The idea is about working with database. Okay, so I'm gonna bring this up. Let's see if this works. Okay, so here is our ribbon. So it is completed, so I think it worked. Okay, press F5 and here is a table that we create from there. Okay, um, so that is one sample. I'm gonna come back here, close this, and this is all for now. Um, so now you know how to create a table. I'll show you more reference to the data type. This is a sample. So for now, I'll just comment this out. So in this example, it has all the major data types. An example of, like the field. This is a field name and the data type. So you can specify, for example, this is the field name and this is the data type. And then you can also specify, the constraint here. This one is the primary key, which is being set up from here. Okay, and then to the to the specific field, you can also specify what sort of data it's going to include. And then this will be the name of the table, which we already covered here. So if you need a reference, you'll find this in the video description. Okay? So again, all the field names, data type. If you want to set a constraint, then you can use this syntax or SQL as your reference. Okay, so let's go ahead and create this table to. We'll just say the table 2 for this one. I hope there's no table 2. Yeah. So let's try and run this one. I'll press Shift F5. Okay, so it's completed. Here's our table 2, and then if you go to design mode, you'll see this is primary key. Primary key for auto, yeah, and then this is byte. So if you go within it, you'll see the field sizes, and then the early ones byte. This is integer, long, single, and so on. Okay, so you'll find all this money, currency, and then coming down here, long text, date and time, all this. Okay, so that will be pretty much. In this episode, I'll demonstrate how to upload bulk data from CSV file into database. Let me quickly show you the sample first. So this is a CSV file with about 20 MB of data, 3 columns of data with, I think this will be about 1 million records. So first we'll import this into a new table, and then I'll also demonstrate how to import it to a existing table. Okay, I'm gonna close this without saving. Close this as well. So let's call this bulk. Let's call this upload bulk data. I'm gonna copy all this. This part will rewrite this part. The rest will be the same. Okay, so here first we'll do select into that will create a new table. So select all into, and then here we'll specify from where we are getting the data. So from, and then here we will put in our CSV connection string. So it will be a text, and then the format will be delimited. And then header. So if you have a header, then you specify yes. So we have a header. So if you don't have a header, you set this to, sorry, this will be header. If you set this to no, then it will create a field like field 1, 2, and 3, and so on. Okay. So we'll specify yes for our connector. And then next you can specify the database path, um, not the full file, but just the path. Okay, so here we'll say database, and then is equal to, and then this will be the path, and dot, you specify the file name. So the file name is this, dot, and then within the brackets you put this. So we're saying select into, and then here we'll specify the table. Let's call this new transaction table, something like that. Select all into this table, and then the format is this will be text, delimited, just cross-checking this to make sure, database, and then this is gonna be the path and the file name. Okay, so let's try and run this. We can add a new button here, and let me just call this okay, let's try this. Okay, so that I think was quick. That was very quick. If you look at the records, it's 913,000 records just uploaded in like within a second. Okay, so if you go here, you'll see the data type was already automatically created. Okay, so that's if you have to import into a new table by creating the table automatically. I'm just gonna make a copy of this table, just a structure, copy, paste, and let me call this as transactions. Okay, let's say that we want to import into existing table. So this will be short text, customer ID, and this will be date, and this will be a number, and we want this to be double so that you can hold decimal points. Okay, so let's create a second part of SQL. I'm gonna copy this. And now instead of select into, we'll use insert into. Okay, so insert into, and then you'll specify the table you want to insert into. Let me just close this first. Insert into this table, and then you can specify the fields. So what are the fields here? Customer ID, comma, transaction date, and amount. Close this, and then from the source we want to select. Oh, sorry, not here. Just use the same fields because these are the field names that are there in CSV. Select this from, and then this will remain the same. Let's try again. Looks like there is some problem. It didn't return any error though. Let me open this in debug so that if there's any error we can see it. Okay, so it says syntax error near insert into. Okay, I think this is a problem. I didn't recheck that. That's my bad. So insert into the table fields, select these fields from this table. Okay. Now I'm gonna open up in runtime. Okay, so let's see. I'm gonna refresh F5. Okay, so all the data has been imported successfully. 913 records into existing table. Okay, that will be it for this video. In the next video, we'll start looking at how to read the data from database. In this episode, I'll cover multiple examples on how to retrieve or read data from database. Let's call this read from DB. So for this purpose, we're going to use the reader. So let's declare two readers for now. This variable will be OLEDB reader, data reader, yeah. And this, just in case we want to, like use the reader, multiple readers in the same process. I'll just demonstrate it now. So before we start writing this code here, Access Database is pretty cool, like query designer that you can use to quickly generate SQL. For example, let's say that we want to get all the states, the unique states from here. Either you can just drag this here and group them and just run this query. So you'll see this list, yeah. So if you go to the SQL, you'll see this, SQL created, or you can also say select distinct state from client. That will basically return the same results like this. Okay. So if I get this SQL now and try to execute it from here, let's call this SQL. So this is our SQL, and let me copy this part. If the connection is open, we want to use this, and then our DR1 is going to be command dot reader, execute reader, okay, and then we will read the data. I'm gonna get rid of this. While we'll look through the data, dr1 dot read, and then we'll maybe just debug this dr1 first field value. If it is string, if it is a number, then we can force it to print a string in this fashion. Oops, sorry. Now let's add a button to do this. I'll put this label as read for now. And when that button is clicked, we want to run this process that we just created. So this is our SQL. If the connection is open, then we want to, I think it's going to open with this query, and then it's going to execute reader. So up here we are executing non-query. Okay, this one is the reader. Okay, there's the difference here. And then it's going to read the data, and then it's going to look through these data points till the end. and then we're gonna just print it out here in the output. Okay. Um, okay, opening in debug mode. So these are the like unique state list. So if you go back here, run this is the same list that we see here. Okay. Let's try some more examples. We'll try linking multiple tables as well. I'm gonna set this. Now let's say that we want to bring in all the data from this table. Then we can just say select all, or select, asterisk means all from clients. If I just run this now, it's going to be one field, but it printed all the data set here. Okay, from client 1 till 500. So if you want to print multiple data, then we will replicate this string, like 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's say we want to print 5 fields. One, two, or I think we can just, okay, just ignore that. So the 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So this will be 5 fields starting from 0 to 4. Just give me 1 second. And then we want to format them as well. So say data, I'll just call this field 1. I don't want to write the name for now, so I'll just say field 1, and then here it's gonna be 0. Just put this here for now. Two, three, four, five. So this will be, these values will be written to this format. Okay. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Let's try and run this. Okay, it's all showing field 1, but like this is client, the name, the company, the address, and so on here. Yeah. So if you want to specify, for example, here this is going to be customer ID, and this is going to be first name, last name, like that. So it will print, like in this placeholder, this value will be printed. That's the idea here. Okay, so as you can see here now, the first name, last name, and so on is coming out here. So using this data, like that is being returned, you can populate this data. Maybe you can export it. You can load it to combo box, data grid. You can use it for anything. Let's try more examples. Let's say that we want to link these two tables. Um, so again, we can, like quickly generate this. Oops. SQL from here as well. So these two are already linked. So if you double click here, you'll be able to see the join type. So here include rows where both, like both the tables have this key. Yeah. If you want to do left or right, like include all from clients, but only the ones that are matching from the other table, and so on. Now let's say that we want to just return the matching records from both tables. I'll just click on this one. Okay. Let's say that we want to generate, let's say we want to pull data for, let's say, certain date. let's try 2020 for this date. Yeah, so I'll put a criteria here. In the criteria, I'll just put this date. Okay, so it returned all this date. Now let's try and run this. I'm gonna copy this, or you can also straightforward write it from here. If you're already familiar with the SQL, you can easily write it from here. So select these fields from this table, and then the join is inner join type, and the key is customer ID, and the where condition is this. Yeah, where the date is this. So even if you don't have these brackets, also it's fine. Like this is also good. So we're saying return all the data by linking these two tables using the customer ID, and then the filter is on the date. That is 1016. Let's run this now. Now here the names are going to be different. So the first one is the customer ID, the second one is the date, and the third one is amount. Just get rid of this for now. Zero, 1, 2. So all these are the data for 1016. Okay. Now you can also specify, like multiple criterias. For example, here we're saying transaction date is this, and then you can put more criteria like and let's say clients. Let's say we want to bring in all the data for like this date and for the state of state is equal to DA, maybe like that. So if we go back to this, and we can say, so there's a state called DA. So we want to return all the data, all the transactions for certain date, but specifically for this particular state only. Let's run this. Okay, so these are for that particular state only. So if you look at this client here, C12, all these clients, you can validate it manually as well by going here, but it will be working. Okay. Um, Now one more thing I want to mention here is you can also put in parameters. So instead of this DA or this date, you can specify a question mark like this. Okay, and then here you can put in the parameters like this, parameters.add, and then here you can specify the name and data type. So let's say we want to call this state, and then here you can specify the data type. Oledb, we can just mention varchar, that will be it. And then we can say you can also go by this format. If you just leave this as a question mark, also it's fine like this. Okay. And then dot value is equal to whatever value you want to specify. So earlier we were trying for DA. Let's now try and see other state. Let's say WA. So this value will be written here in this query. Okay. Okay, let's give it a try. So all these are clients from the state of the DBA, and for this particular transaction date. In this episode, I'll demonstrate some examples on how to add data to database using .NET. Okay, so I'll call this add new data. Add new data. And let's reuse all this. Okay, so for this, we'll write insert SQL statement command. Let's call this SQL equals to insert into, and this will be the table name. Let's say that we want to insert to transaction table, this table, and first will be the field names and then the values. Okay, so here we'll put in the field names and then values, and here we will put the values that we want to insert. So the field names should be up here somewhere. So we want to insert into these fields, and let's say that we want to insert a value called my. For the date, let's say 1st of 2020, and the amount, let's say that here we'll just disable this for now. We'll execute non-query, and this part is relevant here. Okay, so we'll insert into this database to these fields, and these are the values we want to add. Let's add a button to call this data. Okay, let's try this. So here's the data we just added now. Let's try some more examples. I'll try to keep this short. So like we did up here, we can also add a parameters instead of specifying a value like this. Let me just comment this out, and you can also just put a question mark like this, or you can also add a parameter name like client ID, add the date, and add amount, something like that, and we can reuse this part. So here we can specify this, and the type of data is going to be this dot value is equal to let's say my, then we'll put do now just to differentiate the data, and let's replicate these lines. 3 should be enough. Second one will be the date, and third will be amount. So date data type will be date, and this amount data type will be double. So for the text, you put like double quotes in like in the beginning and end, and for the date you specify with this hash. So let's say 12 of let's say May 12, 2020, and the amount can be something like that. Okay, so we are, like setting up the parameters name here, like a placeholder, and then we are adding those values here by specifying the data type as well. This is very useful, especially when your query is very long, and then there are, if you sometimes put in like, instead of this, you specify, set up your SQL in this fashion. Let's say this is text box one dot value, something like that. Sometimes, like, when you have lots of this, you can miss out on single quotes and double quotes, and it will lead to error. So this setting up this way is also another useful way of writing your query. So let's try this. Okay, so this is the value we just added. Going back here. So I think that will be pretty much it. In the next video, I'll show you how to write update query, and then followed by, like delete, and then we'll explore more examples on how to export the data as well. In this episode, I'll demonstrate how to update the existing data in database. I think we can just replicate this. I'll call this update data. Instead of update, we'll use, instead of insert, we'll use this. We'll say update this table, and we'll specify set. That will be the, like the field you want to update. Let's say we want to update the amount to, let's say, 1 2 3 4 5, something like this. Where you can specify the criteria, where, let's say, date is equal to, let's try to see the existing data. Let's say we want to update this particular field. So where customer ID is equal to this, and the date is equal to May 12th. So update this table, set the value, this value to amount field, where the customer ID, I think the name is correct, where customer ID is equal to this, -2, and the date is this. We can just comment this out for now. So open a connection. Using this connection, we'll open up this query and we'll execute it here. And let's add a quick button here. Let's call this update. Oops, let's make it bold. Uppercase. F5. So the value has been updated, 134.556.33. So that's the value we specified. Yeah. Now we can also, add parameters in this fashion. For example, most of the time when we are writing this in VBA, we normally do in this fashion, by specifying, okay, variable amount, something like that. So if I set dim amount as double, and we can specify 555. Let's say this is the value. We can also write in this fashion, or we can also do in this fashion as well. Yeah. So here we can specify that amount, and then even the criteria can be add client, and this can be add amount in the same fashion we did earlier. You can write in this fashion as well, and then you pass in the parameters value from here. Okay, so you can write in this fashion as well, this as well, and in this fashion as well. So update this transaction table, amount will be this placeholder, parameter value, this will be our conditions. So for the same date, we want to set the value to this value now. Reset 5. Okay, type mismatch. Okay, that's my bad. So t date. Okay, sorry, this is my bad. This will be t date, and this will be CLT, and amount is here. Okay, let's try to reload this. Refresh F5. Looks like it didn't update. Just give me 1 second. Is this amount? Customer ID is at, okay. Just reloading this. The parameter name was not correct. Looks like I'm still missing out something. Okay, I think this is not how we added for the update query. We'll have to use add with value, and then we'll directly specify the value here. Okay. So similarly, we'll do it here, and we'll plug in the value there itself. Add with value, and I'm gonna align these parameters as well with the SQL command. Okay, let's give it a shot. Okay, so looks like it got updated now. We'll give it one more try. Okay, so now it is working. Okay, so a couple of things before we wind up this video. Now we are executing, using non-query, and then this parameter seems like it does not understand the name of these parameters. So only when I align this, parameters, it seems to work. This works with when we are reading the data. So yeah, that will be pretty much it. In the next video, we will try to use the delete query to delete the data. In this episode, I'll demonstrate a couple of ways to delete the data from database. So we'll just quickly replicate this update query. code that we wrote earlier, and we'll just rename this to delete. All of these are pretty much the same. Once you get the idea, it's not difficult at all. Um, so let's first try out with straightforward. Let's call this delete all from transaction table, where customer is this. Um, Little from this table where customer ID is equal to this and date is equal to this. And we'll execute the query. Let's run this by adding one more button. Delete. And we'll call this. So if we go to database, our last record will be this. For this date 512, for this client. So once we run this code, it will delete this particular line, okay? So let's give it a shot. So that line is gone. I just refreshed it, F5. Okay, now let's try and do for this one as well. For 1st Jan 2020. And then we'll try to add parameters as well to this. Okay, so this is deleted as you can see. So now let's say that we want to add a parameter in the way we have done it up here. So instead of we don't have ml, so we'll use this, add this, and the date is add this. So we'll delete all this. Just Control Z in case you want to refer back. This. Just comment this out and delete this too. So delete all from this with this parameters placeholder, and we'll bring this back on. So going back here, let's say that we want to delete. Let's do the ones at the bottom so it's easier to identify. Client C500, and the date is 12/31. Line and date. So when I run this query, we'll have this line deleted. Okay, so it's deleted as you can see. Okay, so that will be pretty much for this video. In the following videos, we will also try to export the data that we read from the database. Maybe we can try and export them to CSV file. We'll try and write to Excel or to the TXT file. Okay. In this episode, I'll demonstrate how to export bulk data from database to CSV file. So we have covered the one that we uploaded. So let's just make few changes to this. This is gonna be a short video. I'll call this export bulk data CSV. So here, instead of insert into, we'll do select all. Okay, select all into, and then we want to select this into the text file, this CSV file. So select all into this, and this will be the file name. Let's call this sample. Let's call this output. Okay, and then so select. Okay, there's a typo. Select all into this file. Okay, this file from, let's say we want to export from clients table. We'll just leave it till here, and then we will execute it in this fashion. Yeah. So again, let's add this one button. Let's call this export CSV. Okay, let's give it a shot. Output. Okay, so these are all the data from clients table. We can narrow it down as well. For example, here we can say where state is equal to DA. Now I'll just make this V2. So now we will have only the data relating to the state DA. Okay. So that will be all in this short video. In the next video, I'll demonstrate for the txt file and for Excel as well. In the last video, we learned how to export the data to CSV file. We'll just replicate this code to export the data to txt as well. And then I'll quickly show how to export to Excel as well. So instead of CSV, we just need to change this to txt. The rest remains the same here. Add one more button. Export to okay, let's give it a try. So here's our file. Contains all the data for the state of TA, as you can see here. Okay, that will be it for this short video. In the next video, I'll demonstrate how to export in a similar fashion to Excel. In the prior episodes, we learned how to export the data to CSV file and to txt file in bulk. Now I'll also demonstrate a similar way to export it to Excel. There are various ways to export it. This is one way to do it, okay? Let's call this export to Excel. This. And everything else remains the same except that here is going to be Excel Excel 8.0 and this is not delimited. We go straight to database. Here we want to call this output and XLS, and then you can specify the sheet name as well. So call this sheet 1. And then from clients, and then this. So similarly, if you're exporting from transactions table, in this example, then you can also specify the name of the table and then your conditions. Okay, so let's give it a shot. Select into Excel 8.1 and database path. It's gonna be like this. Um, and the name of the sheet from table. Okay, let's give it a try. Export bulk to Excel. Let's add a button. Okay, so all these are data for the state of this into Excel. Yeah. Similarly, you can update the driver for from connectionstring.com. You'll find more information for other formats as well. In this episode, I'll quickly demonstrate how to set a password for the database and set up a new connection with the password. Okay, so I'll make a copy of this and let's call this with pass, something like that. And now, if you open the database normally and go to info, here you'll see to encrypt it, but you'll have to open this in exclusive mode. Okay, so for that, just do Control O, or you just go to open and browse, and now select this file and then open exclusive. Okay, after that, you go again to info and click on encrypt with password, and let's say that the password is 123x, something like that. So put a password, confirm it, and then click on OK. And just click on OK for this as well. And let me close and reopen this file. And then I'll put a password. Okay. Now going back to our project. Let me quickly go up here and copy this as well. I'll copy this both so that we can test it at the same time. Okay, so let's call this open connection with password, and then we'll test this once this is set up. Going back to connectionstring.com. Now we'll grab the connection string with the password. Okay, so this one. I'll just copy this, come back here and paste it here. Now our database path, let me grab this. Shift right click, copy as path. And then, so this is going to be our database path. And this is going to be the password 123x. This is going to be our connection string. So the only thing that is different here is this part. Okay, now I'm going to get rid of this and then I'll place it here like this. This will go without the quotes. Okay, so now we'll just use the same variable, only the connection string is different here. And then this one is going to test out this new connection now. So if we go to this place where we test this, okay, now there seems to be a duplicate, so we'll say test connection new, and let's call this from there. Okay, Control F5 to load up the project, and click on this. So this is connected. Okay, so the only like if you have to use the database with the password protected, you can set up the connection. Like first encrypt the database with the password, and then you can put an additional, like this line. Basically, if you want to already set up and you want to use it, you just amend the connection string. That's all. Okay, that will be all for this video.